Ah, it's Valentine's Day. Surely that means that love is in the air, right? Wrong! Government-mandated cuck chair! Slavery! Flat characters and no character development! Okay, now that's out of the way. That right there is basically my TLDW for this video and why I titled the video that way. Okay, now this video might be a little bit out of left field for those of you who are in my community, but the context is the new Divinity game got announced. I played Original Sin 2 back in high school. I had a displeasure of experiencing this for the first time way back when, and now I'm using this I'm using the announcement as an opportunity to show off what my script calls Blanky's Spiteful X-Arc. Okay, back to the video. Now, I know that the claim of worst romance in gaming is a very strong claim to make, simply because there are so many different ways bad or low-quality relationships can be portrayed in a game. There are romances where the characters don't have any chemistry, where the leads don't really feel like they should be getting together, where the entire romance is really just uncompelling and it's just largely going through the motions. Maybe the main character or the supporting characters in the romance are just really one-dimensional and boring, like a cardboard cutout meant to push the plot forward and you're just sitting there hoping and praying they do something interesting at some point. And then there's also the classic member of the opposite sex character who has nothing going on with or without the MC, but gets with the MC because they just so happen to share screen time and the plot demands it. Hell, sometimes they just flat out cheat on you. And then there are romances where the romanceable character shows off red flags the size of a mountain, but you just want to see where it would go down because it's just so bad. Or more accurately, it's just so bad that you wouldn't choose it on your playthrough and you just go watch someone else's YouTube video showing you what would have happened if you choose the obviously bad thing to do. See, all those things, any one of those things individually would be a deal breaker for a romance, or hell, a deal breaker for a character in general. But what if I told you there was a character whose romance had not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but all of these issues wrapped up in an incredibly unsatisfying story? Now you're starting to see why I titled this video the way it is. Okay, now we're getting to the topic of the video. The Red Prince from Divinity Original Sin 2, the masterpiece CRPG by Larian Studios. I don't hate this game. I love it a lot. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I'm just saying that this romance is really bad. Okay? This character and his romance essentially tick every single one of the boxes I just laid out. A lack of chemistry, forced plot, lack of character development, red flags so potent they've seeped into the color of his scales, unfaithfulness, everything. It's bad. Okay, first, let me get into something a little bit more appropriate for the video topic. Sorry, that screaming at the beginning of the video kind of blew out my throat. There we go. The Red Prince's companion storyline, as well as his romance, something only really barely made up for in his smarmy, charming personality, which in my opinion is like chasing a bag of chocolates into a septic tank. You can jump in for the chocolates, not knowing that you're about to be drenched in shit. I'm being very aggressive here, but I genuinely come from a place of love for the game, and I have the wholehearted belief that this story, this character, and the romance, it honestly just deserved so much better. Okay, I've made my stance perfectly clear, but to give you your perspective, I'll outline how his romance and his character arc play out in the game as you play through it. Spoilers for Divinity Original Sin 2, obviously. I'll be focusing mainly on the elements immediately relevant to him and him only to avoid having to explain the lore of a 200+ hour game. The game starts with you on a ship. You are a sorcerer, trapped and captured, put onto a prison ship to go to a prison island. I know what you're thinking, don't even start. Anyways, you head deeper into the ship and you spy a crimson lizard scolding another lizard for not being able to make a decent meal with the literal scraps that she's been made to work with. He grips your face and starts inspecting your teeth, asking questions like if you can sew, cook, work cosmetics, how good you are at housework. Doesn't really matter how you answer. The point is, he's sizing you up, because when he's finished,
So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. Let's evaluate, shall we? As per your own testimony, you can cook, tailor, and groom. Well, that just about settles it. I offer you my sincerest congratulations. As of now, you are my slave.
Yeah. Okay, a little bit of context here. In the world of Divinity, the lizard race has one of the most powerful empires. A lot of aristocrats, lots of lizard wizards, and unfortunately, but most importantly, a lot of slaves. The Red Prince, who actually is the crown prince of this empire, is very much accustomed and used to the practice of owning other people. Now, you may think that I'm condemning this solely because, since slavery is bad, this character that likes slavery must also be bad, and sure, but that's not the only thing. You see, it's important for a character, especially for a companion, to have some kind of room to grow as a person, something to fuel their character arc, something for them to grow into over the course of the game. The Red Prince is an example of the disgraced noble trope, having been exiled from lizard society for summoning and banging literal demons from hell. I guess even a slave state can draw the line at orgies featuring Satan. But by being a banished noble, one being forced to be a prisoner at that, the game gives him an opportunity through his adventure with you to be confronted on his current beliefs. He could be shown the realities of slavery, be put in front of the families torn apart by the practice, be humbled when confronting the horrors of such a practice, when put in the position of victim rather than victimizer atop an ivory tower. Display an actual sense for the potential for change in lizard society through the reformation of one of its most important figures. There's even potential for a very interesting inter-companion story arc here. Another companion, Sabil Calaran, is an escaped elf slave, one who was afflicted with lizard slave scar magic, who is currently on a vengeance quest, hunting down every single person who was involved in her capture and captivity. Her story arc is about the reclamation of agency and freedom, how valuable freedom is, healing from that, and planting yourself in such a way that you'll never have your agency taken from you again. It's pretty powerful stuff. And it makes her the prime subject to be the foil to the Red Prince's character. She could have been one of the biggest plot points to confront the Red Prince's worldview. But she's not. No, this extremely in-your-face potential clashing of characters set up for an explosive kickoff to the Red Prince's introspection and being drawn away from the evil parts of how he was raised? Yes, this completely wasted potential. All of it. The game basically never acknowledges in a real serious capacity that the Red Prince is a literal slaver, and by the end of the game is still basically just as okay with slavery as he was when he first inspected your teeth. Like, really think about what was lost out on here. Think about Lae'zel and Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3, where in the early game, they consistently butt heads and fight, sending jabs at one another with near-open hostility. Except whereas that conflict was mostly fueled by racism, this one is fueled by a clash of their fundamental understandings of the world, and would have been up to the player to decide how things played out. It would have been so peak watching someone so pompous and arrogant be beaten down and humbled, and finally reconsidering and rescinding his worldview. Unfortunately, literally none of the potential for this character has been realized, never is it prompted, never is it an option. The pieces were there. One of the only interactions that can happen is some minor dialogue to the player when the Red Prince has to talk to a lizard mystic by the name of Stingtail. But Sabil has already marked Stingtail for death, because he was the one who put the slave scar on her. If Sabil kills Stingtail, the Red Prince gets uppity and openly disparages her for it.
Face first into his own intestines. Sabil heaves a sigh of satisfaction, and as she wipes her needle clean, shoots you a cursory look.
Chat's over.
Demon elf, how dare you strike down a dreamer?
Such is my prerogative, Prince. And doubly so, my pleasure.
I should whip her till she's as red-skinned as I am, then leave her for the birds to peck clean.
And this is such a perfect time for them to talk to one another and get at each other's throats. But really, some verbal jabs are exchanged, but nothing really of substance happens. It's a good start, but it needed more. And I'm not talking about more to this scene, I mean more presence in the rest of the game in general. There were even more pieces of the puzzle that I'm not mentioning quite yet, but I'll save that for later after I give you some more story content. Alright, so the Red Prince's personal story isn't about facing the structural problems and issues regarding the society that he's supposed to be running in the future and redeeming himself over the course of his journey with us. So, what is it about? Sex, my dear. You think that's a joke, but no. The main plot line of the Red Prince revolves around a prophecy told by the mystics of the Lizard Empire. It would say that 2 lizards of the major lizard houses of law and war would bear children with red scales, and that they would wed, and their children would be red dragons. And it's the Red Prince's entire storyline to go and find this Red Princess, bone her, and become the father of dragons. That's it. That's all of it. Now, you may be thinking, wait, what? That's so boring. Get a girl, get laid, reclaim the throne. Yes! Yes! Exactly. That's why I find this character arc so inherently frustrating. The story here is just so wasted. The wider themes have the potential to be so much more poignant than they are, but you may have also noticed something else. I said that this was the worst romance in video games, yet at the same time, this character comes pre-packaged with his own predetermined love interest. Let's dig into that. You see, there's something very, very special about the way that you initiate the romance with the Red Prince. You don't get asked whether or not you're into your companion like you are in BG3. No, that would be too normal and sane. No, rather, after the Red Prince discovered the existence of the Red Princess, he immediately declares her to be the secret to his soul, and tasks you with helping him find her, and so you do. After escaping the island's prison, you eventually find the Red Princess, or Sadha, the princess to the House of Law, the opposing house to the Red Prince's House of War. And immediately after meeting each other, the first thing they do is get into the carriage that's on screen and start banging like crazy. Now, this is already incredibly uncomfortable, but you haven't seen nothing yet. Because in order to initiate the romance, you don't respect these people's boundaries and instead go full peeping Tom and situate yourself into your very own cuck chair. Yes, in order to start romancing the Red Prince, you have to be a total pervert. And after the Red Prince catches you, he is understandably quite upset and pissed off at you, and is right to be so. He should rightfully tear you to shreds. And the way that you defuse the situation is that you tell him that you were jealous of Sadha. And he will say,
We'll talk about this later.
After this, and a quick combat encounter with some assassins, the Red Prince will confront you, and you'll talk about what just happened. And you have the option to express having feelings for him, since I'm explaining this multi-train pile-up of a romance, we'll be picking that option. The guy decides to lean in and kiss you, following up by,
Let me try something.
He leans in, and your lips ever so lightly meet. Feeling you reciprocate, the Red Prince kisses you passionately.
My. Talk about still waters. Can't wait to find out how deep you run.
immediately cheating on his new girlfriend with the weirdo that just less than an hour before was perving on them together. Okay, by the end of the game, the Red Prince and the player can have a proper love scene. And before the act, Red will outright say that he knows that cheating is hurtful, and that if he were to put himself in Sada's place, he would be totally crushed. Listen from the Red Lobster's mouth.
Sadha, I see. I cannot speak for her, but if I saw you and her together as we are now, I admit my heart would break. I'm merely being honest. It is not my intention to deceive you in any way. I love Sadher, but I love you too. Stay with me here, and I will make you feel cherished in a way you've never been cherished before.
Like, okay. You see, the Red Prince, when he introduces himself, says that he's more than just an immature man-child wanting to see the world, but rather wants to experience the world, to test his mettle. But if you ask me, he's the most emotionally immature person in this game. Well, you know, aside from the player in this hypothetical situation, but we're talking about a pre-written character here, and that I think just has so much wasted potential. The thing that gets me is that there is literally no way for him to not go for Sadher. By design, this romance forces you into the role of a homewrecker, and by the end of the game, if you stick with the Red Prince for some reason, you are made to be his concubine, his number 2 in favor of Sadher. You get forced into being his third wheel in favor of someone who he's had a total of like 10 lines of dialogue at most with in the entire game. Now, this could maybe be a bit forgivable, maybe, if Sadher were some kind of godly top-tier character or something. Something that would really push the Red Prince's personal story quest to the next level. Make it the most scrumptious, delicious story arc ever seen in a video. Yeah, it's dog shit. And I say that with my whole chest. Here's why. Okay, so the Red Prince and Sadher are the 2 red royalty of the lizards, with a prophecy stating that their coupling will result in the birth of red dragons. They are also from the 2 main houses of the Lizard Empire, the Houses of War and Law. There's also the House of Dreams, but they're not really important for this. The House of War is the Red Prince's house, the one that does all the conquering and the general operations for the Empire, while the House of Law is the House of Sadher, and is the acknowledged as the newer upstart house, as described by Red himself. The thing with the House of Law, though, is that in the lore they are established to be a house that is very anti-slavery, and acts to limit the actions of the House of War. They even made it so that enslaving lizards specifically was illegal in the Empire, while within the House of Law, there are no slaves at all. I mean, it's not much, but it's something, right? And so, you would think that, you know, Red Prince and Sadher would come into conflict for this reason. The Red House of War and Sadher of Law, Sadher would reasonably find unconscionable differences that would endanger the relationship, and they would force Red to reevaluate his values, changing himself to become a better man for the sake of his lady. Yeah, you already know he doesn't do that shit. And no, these fundamental traits put onto Sadher because she's the princess of the House of Law, the anti-slavery house. Yeah, no, they don't exist at all. The only, and I do mean only, thing that matters here is not the intercultural clashing between 2 rival houses, but rather the dumb-ass dragon pregnancy prophecy. The dragon prophecy is the only thing that Red and Sadher really have going for her, and at least Red has the chance to show off his personality with quips, and is pretty damn strong as a party member, so he's useful for that. Sadher, though, her only purpose is to act as a plot device for the sake of the Red Prince's story. She gets knocked up and has to flee from some assassins, and then, near the end of the game, you learn that in order to ensure her safety, she made a pledge, she made a deal to pledge her soul to basically Super Mega Ultra Satan, the overarching antagonist of the Divinity universe, and you have to go on a fetch quest to free her soul or else Red is going to leave your party forever. She's not complicated, and her only purpose is to pop out some dragon eggs so you can have a badass companion summon of a baby dragon that you can use in combat. Hell, right after the eggs hatch, it's Sadher who tells Red to use her newborn child as a child soldier against the forces of hell. And even Red is incredibly reluctant to put his literal baby in the line of fire to fight basically God. And then she goes, oh, well, no, dragon pet. Wow. Like, listen to this.
You have set me free.
but you'll never be truly free of the God King as long as he threatens all of Rivellon. There's only one course of action left open to us. I must face the Dread King and kill him myself.
My prince, your children will help you. Here, take one of the eggs and engulf it with fire. Do so, and your child will be born, ready even now to fight by your side. With a single breath, you'll usher in a new age, a new creed, before which all must bow. A dawn of flame.
Sad. The child will be a dragon, yes, but to expose it to such danger, I'm just not quite certain this would be the right course of action.
There is no insight into House of Law's values or culture, no conflict with Red to make their story compelling, not even really general chemistry with Red either. All of their lovey-dovey garbage is just so forced for people to have known each other for a couple hours tops in universe, most of which was just spent banging in a carriage, as opposed to the player, who basically spent in-game weeks and months alongside Red as a companion that you are both into. Despite this relationship also being super weird because Red is just so set on Sadha, she doesn't even really give a shit about Red cheating on her with you. I mean, sure, she says that she isn't happy with it, but she never brings it up with him, only adding to the implication that she's just really doing this for slimy political reasons. The little characterization that we get from her is when she's talking with you only, without the Red Prince, and she's basically just a total asshole unless he's there, so maybe she's just manipulating him to get what she wants, but that's never really explored either. Sadha is a cardboard cutout with zero personality, whose only purpose is to steal your romance partner, make any relationship with him incredibly uncomfortable, and to gain access to a mediocre summon. She's an afterthought. Her personhood is an afterthought. Everything about her is an obvious plot device with no substance. Oh, fuck. Excuse me. Everything about this storyline pisses me off. I'm the original Starwalker. Are you starting to understand why I have so much scorn for this story? Why I decided to name this as the worst romance in all of gaming? This is so fucking bad! And there's all this wasted potential, man.
He said it!
For one, there's the Red Prince and Sabille. I've already gone over the could've been, should've been dynamic earlier in this video, but there's even more to the connection. You see, the Red Prince has been hunted the entire game by assassins sent after him by a lizard by the name of the Shadow Prince, the ruler of the Lizard House of Shadows, basically the Lizard CIA. And the Shadow Prince also happens to be Sabille's slave master. Sabille's story climax involves killing the Shadow Prince, and it's also essential for the Red Prince to kill the Shadow Prince. Aligned interests that would be so much more powerful if their dynamic were to be explored, with Red being challenged on his slaving ways to help grow and support his new friend to not only save his future wife, but also help destroy his friend's abuser, thereby also refuting his slaving ways once and for all. Doesn't that just sound so much more compelling? Instead, we get so much weird sex stuff, which in my opinion is just kind of what this story has been about. Just weird hedonism. Like, Red spent time banging demons. He's cheating on his wife with you. There's this weird slave master kink relationship going on too. There's the peeping Tom stuff. All this just feels like the writer's barely disguised fetish at the expense of some actual compelling storyline using these very lore significant characters. Even when you just keep your relationship platonic, sure, he can be a cool bro to have, but the Red Prince's actual storyline still leaves so much to be desired. Look, despite what it sounds like, I don't hate Divinity. I said it early in the video, near the beginning, Divinity is like a top 10 game I've played. Combat's great, lore, storyline, world class. The interactivity in this game is amazing like you would expect in an Ilarian game, but oh my god, are there some weaknesses. And in terms of romance with the guy, right? He never really reconsiders cheating on his whatever, man. You can't get him to change at all. Ugh. Okay, so I know that by now the Larian developers have already moved on. They made Baldur's Gate 3. I've played that too, And the writing there, especially regarding the companions, is just so much better when it comes to the actual interpersonal relationships that they have with the player. In my mind, I like the concepts and the story arcs of the DOS2 crew more than the BG3 buddies. But BG3's execution of their stories just feels so much better, and that is a good thing. It means that they're improving, and hopefully their new Divinity game will just help wash away the psychic damage that this sorry excuse for a romance left in my brain. Felt like a mind flare tadpole nibbling on my frontal lobe the whole way through. My god. But hey, maybe this isn't enough to convince you that this is the worst romance in gaming. I'm genuinely curious, what the hell could possibly be worse than master-slave lizard infidelity with a horrible story arc and zero chemistry? I am genuinely curious in the same way that you'd be curious about how a giant dung ball the size of a house managed to get onto the road. This video is a bit of a departure from what I usually do, but I kind of felt like following up a video about a game with a great romance in it with one of the literal worst romances I could find in it. Speaking of, please watch that previous video. It completely flopped in the algorithm when I uploaded. Please, 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 please. Also, I spent my entire birthday editing this together, so, you know, happy birthday would totally be appreciated. Wink. Alright, that's enough out of me. Good night, everyone. If I were to put the Red Prince and Sadha on the cucking infidelity tier list, they would be nestled right below Omni-Man cheating on Debbie with that ant girl, and right above Jacob Taylor cheating on Shepard in Mass Effect. But Sadha adds a double point multiplier for putting her baby up for the front lines, placing them at the top. What a team player, Sadha. You fucking monster.